Hello and welcome to the Coffee Chat Show with me, Jody Misiak. I am having a lot of computer challenges this week, so I am on my phone again, hence why things are just a little off, and at least I can do it on my phone. So today on the Coffee Chat Show, we're going to talk about setting healthy boundaries. So grab your coffee, your tea, smoothie. I know it's later in the day, and chat with me. So, healthy boundaries. They're really important. And on the other hand, they can be really hard to set. We don't want to hurt people's feelings. We don't want to have people mad at us, like, oh, who does she think she is, wanting this, and things like that. So they can be really hard to set. And on the other hand, it's really important to set them, because if we don't, the person who's going to suffer is ourselves. And at first it might be okay, you're like, okay, whatever, that doesn't bug me that much, and slowly, as if you don't talk about boundaries to this person or people, it could get out of hand. First it would just be like little things, or it's like a little annoyance, and then it keeps happening, and they don't know that it's bothering you because you're not talking to them. And then it can actually get to the point where you start yelling, or you just like get so mad, or you can actually just start hanging out with these people less, try to avoid them a little bit, just so you don't have to have this confrontation. So it's really important to set healthy boundaries. And again, like, I know they're hard, so we'll just talk a little bit about that. And then there's the other thing about boundary setting that can be tricky is sometimes, like, our emotions do get in the way, and sometimes we can actually be triggered. And that's usually what happens when we don't set those healthy boundaries right from the get-go. So what I'm trying to get at is I'm actually going to share a story where, one, I was triggered, and two, I've decided I need to also set a healthy boundary in a relationship. And I'll explain kind of how that works. And I'm still actually in the process of setting that healthy boundary, because when that happens, we need to make sure that we are actually not angry when we're talking to this person. Hi, Penny. So we need to we need to take a step back when we feel in the moment heated that something happened to us. Hello, Nadine. When we have something happen, like, for example, I'll actually share right now what happened with me. I just came back from celebrating my anniversary, and we dropped the kids off at the grandparents'. It was our first time having the grandchildren, and shortly after dropping them off, we just want to make sure they got settled in, and my father-in-law started yelling at my son. And at first I just let it happen, and I'm like, okay, maybe he's just figuring out things. And then he kept yelling at him, and like, it just got worse and worse, and I just couldn't sit and see him treat my son like that anymore, and I kind of lost it on him. And I couldn't set a healthy boundary at that moment, because first I had to figure out, am I triggered? A little bit of triggered, but because I don't even yell at my son. And if I do, it's usually because I'm so tired. So I had to take a step back. We said goodbyes. We just like, okay, they need to figure this out. And now I need to do my own work. Was I triggered? What's triggering me? And then setting those healthy boundaries. So it's really taking those a step back when those moments happen, so you don't set the healthy boundaries in anger. Because when we come from a place of anger, that's when we're like, you can't see my son again, or we don't come from a place of love. And we need to set boundaries with love. Love for ourselves, and that's why we set the healthy boundaries, and love for the other person. And yes, they might not like it, but they do need to happen. The other thing, and the thing that I have to remind myself when I'm working on setting this healthy boundary, is we can't change people, and we can't control the way people act. So it's having a conversation, and it was just funny, because I'm like, this is something I work on to help other people not do, is yell at their children. And here's my father-in-law. So it was definitely a very personal experience for me. But I also didn't like my son. I did not like seeing what I saw. Like, it was complete, like, hardcore yelling. Like, something that I raise my voice when my son's in danger of, like, hurting himself. So he stops instantly. But this was hardcore yelling. So anyways, so that was just a personal thing that's happened to me where it's like, wow, yes, like, we're constantly setting boundaries. And again, we have to make sure that we're not putting like our triggers onto somebody else as well. We need to work on that end first before. But I don't want that to be an excuse to not set healthy boundaries either. It's doing, the figuring out and then going back when you are in a loving state and really, set those boundaries. So I hope I can remember, I'll make a note to fill you in on how that second stage goes. So when you are in those moments, maybe you're like me and I lost it. I will be completely honest. I lost it. I should have said something almost instantly instead of waiting to the point of having like complete like anger build up. And but unfortunately we can't, change what's already happened. So it's looking at that. And I just wanted to let the grandparents be grandparents. And in that, I didn't serve my son or myself well. And it's pausing. Pause and think, is this a trigger or has a boundary been crossed? And in my case, I'm pretty sure it's both. Like I said, I'm still working through the process. And it just happened last week. And it's just figuring out how to set that boundary and how to fix a trigger. And again, it's about talking it out. So it's pausing, and maybe that pause, like for me, was I need to get out of that house, let them do their thing, let us go celebrate our anniversary. I was also running on very little sleep, so that's not the best time. When you're hungry, when you're sleep deprived, any of those factors, I recommend taking a little bit of time to just step away and come back in a, like I said, a more loving state and more calm state. But the most important thing is to remember to talk it out. Yelling is not talking. I was mad at my father-in-law for yelling, and what did I do? I raised my voice. So yelling doesn't equal yelling. And that's one of the things that I would love to let my father-in-law know is, kids don't listen when you're yelled at, and that's a big thing. So if you want him to do something, it's probably the last thing you want to do. But talk it out. You're an adult. They're an adult. It should be able to be done. Aw, thanks, Penny. Yes, it was definitely difficult. And I just try to get out of the situation as soon as possible. It's even harder because it was a grandparent. Watching my parents with my kids, even though my son could be crazy, my dad does it in a loving, calm voice. So I'm even though he didn't talk to us like that as kids, but it was a really weird thing to see grandparents yelling. And it was actually the first time I saw him yelling at him. So I don't know if it was him marking his territory or what it was, but it's figuring that out. And again, hopefully I can, say the part 2 of this later. It's just funny that I need to set my own healthy boundaries, and this is something I've set up for a while, is to talk about. So again, take that pause, that time, figure out if it's a trigger or if it's a boundary, and it could be both, like in my case, where you figure out, where it's triggered. And for me, I really think it has to do with I don't do that myself. And then it even bothered me more. It's like, this is things I help people with, is not yelling at their kids as much, or not feeling as guilty about yelling at their kids. But yes, so that is what I have for you today. And again, big important thing to remember is you can't change people. Yes, Nadine, sorry, I'm just going to read I lost my cool with my, oh yeah, he had his cousin. Yeah, that's hard. Yes, it's really hard when yes, I completely agree. And here's the thing, we're going to lose it. It's going to happen. we are going to yell at our kids. I do it, and most of the time it's either I'm tired, hungry, like all those things. Uh, yes. When unexpected things happen, and when kids do things and it's like, it just, yeah, you're not expecting it. It does happen. And it's going to happen. And it's just loving your way through that. And but for me, again, like this came from just realizing that it was a grandparent. I wish I could have got it on tape because it was not pretty. Mind you, I don't want to record that kind of stuff. So, but yes, it's going to happen, losing our cool. And we'll talk definitely about that because I lose my cool too. I lost it on my father-in-law. Like, I just couldn't contain it inside of me. So, and it happens with our kids. And it's just loving our way through it. It was something that wasn't a big deal that he literally yelled at him for not coming to get his diaper changed. It was something, that was the first one. And then it just kept building. Like, he started yelling and it was a cycle of yelling. There's a time and place for raising your voice and yelling, I think. It happens. But anyways, so let's not talk too much about that. Unless you really want to, that's cool too. So yes, setting healthy boundaries are super important. And if anybody has any different things you want to talk about for setting healthy boundaries, I know I've worked really hard on trying to set healthy boundaries with my in-laws. This is something that's been going on since they've been a part of my family. And another one is, people coming over unannounced or phoning at all hours. There's just different things that we can set healthy boundaries on. So yes, that is it for the health, like for my talking about healthy boundaries. If anybody has any input, I would love to hear it. I'm also going to draw one of the cards, Life Loves You cards. I've been doing this now for a little while at the end of Coffee Chat. And, Nadine, you're challenged with setting healthy boundaries with your parents living together. Yes. That can be challenging because you feel like you're in their space or you're sharing their space. And it's really having a conversation. And that can be challenging. I'm trying to go back to when I lived with my grandma for, I think it was 5 years. Now, I didn't have a child when I was living with her, but I was living with her. It was a little struggle at first, and it's just figuring out what people's intentions are, where people sit or stand and things like that. And it's really about talking it out. And just knowing that you're an adult, they're an adult, and it can be challenging because they see you as their daughter and you see them as your parents, and you're sharing this adult space in raising a child. So they're so challenging. I too find it, sitting down, it's like, we need to talk, or I don't even like starting it like that because people are like, oh boy. It's just sitting down and really having a conversation, and it's trying not to get too heated in that conversation. Yes, I love that, Penny. It's respect for each other. It really is. That's perfectly well said. Thank you, Penny. It is. It's having respect. You respect their house, I'm sure, Nadine, and then they need to respect your your mothering style, and just you in general as a person. So, yes, it's just having it. They are tough conversations to be had. And I still know I have many relationships I'd like to be more honest in, and that's something I too am working on. And the more I feel like it's like a muscle, the more you do it, the easier it gets. Just being honest in a loving way and setting those boundaries. So I hope that helps. And again, Penny, I love your insight. Thank you. So I'm gonna shuffle the cards and just see what we need to hear today, or what would we love to. This one popped out. I create my future today. Oh, I love that. I create my future today. Do something today that your future self will thank you for. Oh, wow. That is perfect for today. We need to go do some conversations, I think, and talk to the ones we love. It doesn't do any good to not tell our loved ones how we feel, and it doesn't do ourselves any good either. So it's being honest in a very loving way. And I know that's the tricky part. So thank you for all the loves and or the loves and likes, and just I hope you have a beautiful day. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for being here live today too, Nadine and Penny. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye for now. Thanks for the love.